you want to talk about your past year?
It was close to impossible. I think I I had to battle a lot of failure, and it was on all fronts at the same time. It was personal, it was professional, it was on all every single angle of my life, and my life has a lot of angles. Like every person's life has a lot of angles, and most of the time you don't see them, and then when they start to fail, you realize that they're there. Like the medical angle never really was of much importance to me, but then I started seeing the bills roll in. That definitely became an angle that was a lot clearer to me.
We're attempting to get our tickets here. If not, we're going to drive anyways until they pop up. Act as if, right?
That's right.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a trip to get there. To get to most civilized places in modern civilization takes approximately 8 hours. You can get anywhere civilized. From one civilized place to the next civilized place. That's a distance that will take you somewhere else. So to take a trip in the civilized world that takes 20 hours or a couple of days to complete just to get somewhere, it's pretty far from civilization. Like you have to actually perform a lot of different activities in the process of getting there. But before you actually get there, you need a plane, you need to overnight, then you need to drive, then you need to overnight again, then you need to drive some more. I mean, of course, you can do it in one day, but it's definitely, if you categorize places according to how civilized, how civilized they are, based on how long it takes to get somewhere, to stay there for a bit, that's pretty far from being civilized. I think that was my first realization. That was my first thought about Burning Man. I was like, I'm pretty far from civilization right now. It took a really long time to walk back to civilization from where I'm at right now, and without gear, I might not make it back to civilization. Like me alone, just like put me on the ground from Black Rock City. There's a whole bunch of people there. There's like, there's stuff going there already, but wipe all that away. It's just me there.
So you heard nothing about Burning Man before going?
maybe some vague recollection, but nothing really that would come to mind.
So you experienced some stress from your family members when they found out you were going. Why do you think that is?
Media. It's the way media portray the world is through extremes. So, Burning Man, portrayed through the media, is portrayed through the language of extremes.
Which extreme was that?
Well, the party extreme. Primarily, there's a lot of partying going on at Burning Man, but I don't think that's necessarily its defining characteristic, because there's a lot of partying going on everywhere, and people like to party, and they always have. But the way media portray life nowadays is in the extremes, and the most prominent, the extreme that talks most to people is the extreme of wanton pleasure.
When you were going, what were you seeking anything? Did you have any expectations? What was your primary impetus to go?
I don't think I experienced. I don't think I felt anything. I didn't. I definitely didn't expect. Because of my situation in the past year, I didn't really expect anything. I was so stripped of expectation. I just went there.
So what made you go?
Curiosity, the want of exploration. I just look for stuff. I entertain discovery.
So people tend to go to Burning Man to, 1, escape, 2, get reborn, 3, just to have an amazing experience. Of those 3, do you categorize yourself in any of those categories?
I don't think so. So I was so stripped of all those things, all of the expectations in all those categories by the time I went. Most recently, the way I live my life is by choice. I choose to do one thing as opposed to another thing, and there was a choice to go there that I made based on preference that I have, a personal preference that defines me. Expectations don't really define a person, it's more preferences. Once I heard the name once, I realized that it actually is a thing with people. It's a thing that people do. I decided it's probably a good idea to go and check it out, because it's a thing that people do, and I do things that people do at least once.
What surprised you the most in your interactions at Burning Man?
People at Burning Man go to the next level with openness. Just because, according to the rules, you don't really talk about the default world. You can be a lot more open about yourself. When you strip away context, you strip away environment, surroundings, in the broadest possible sense of them, where you can understand that, you get left with a person that has preferences, characteristics. They usually don't have, oddly enough, expectations, because you can't really expect anything at Burning Man. There's nothing that you can... There's so little there to begin with that to have expectations there is pretty unrealistic. Because I can easily see the best party in the world there turning into the worst. And the most random moment turning into the best party of all. Right? So you can't really... that's just like the party side, and then all the other sides of Burning Man that there are, they're just the same. You can't really expect anything of them. You just, by design, by the way that place is designed, the rules, the setup, the location. By design, you can't really expect anything there. So you're left with people with no expectations, but with a whole bunch of preferences, with a whole bunch of friends, usually. Or no, sometimes no friends. No enemies, it's all the same. But you're definitely left without expectations as to what's going to happen.
How about identity? Sometimes people don't give you their real names. Some people just kind of want to embody different persona.
Identity is funny because you always have an identity. As long as I can see you, I know who you are. Then your identity becomes something else when I can't see you. The entire purpose in the way Burning Man is set up is the only identity you have there is the identity that I can see. And the identity that you bring there. Right? So you definitely, I wouldn't say that you don't have an identity there. You bring an identity. A lot of that identity that you have there is actually you. That's the preferences, the problems, the friends that you bring there. That's about as much context as you bring to the desert, and everything else you got to build there in a week. You gotta, you can try to build your expectations during that week, but usually people start to build their homes. The first day they come, they don't build their expectations. People come to Burning Man, they build their tents, set up their RVs. Because they prefer to live in a home than in their expectations,
Did you make friends at Burning Man?
I made a lot of friends, definitely. Very good friends, very close friends. When I went to Burning Man, I met a lot of people I had a lot in common with that I had no idea ever existed, which was odd. That's an odd experience to have. Because usually you meet a spectrum of people. People are a spectrum of people. So if you move through a universe full of people, you're moving through a spectrum. And what was interesting about Burning Man, I went there and I met like laser focus, essentially, of that spectrum. It's just like one very small piece of people that were very close to me in terms of their wavelength.
So what made you befriend these people? Or what made them befriend you?
You say befriend, for me, befriending involves an active and deliberate process. Befriending is a deliberate process. I'm not really good at befriending people. No. I'm actually quite horrible at it. So if I don't share any commonality with somebody, it's really hard for me to befriend them. So what I usually try to do is I find the commonality and build on top of it. So what happened at a Burning Man is I found a whole bunch of people that I had a lot of commonality. So it was really easy to build on top of that, build the relationship.
So what were some of that commonality traits?
A big part of commonality of people at Burning Man is that they like to build. They build the oddest things, seriously. Some of them build communities. Some of them build companies. Some of them build hope. Some people build empires. And some people just want to build a family, you know? But that's why, you know, when they come to Burning Man, to begin with, they build a home, because you can't. You can't be anywhere.
aware of the principles of Burning Man before coming into Playa?
No, I was not. I still don't think I could list all of them. How many are there?
10.
No. I would not be able to list them.
How about self-expression, radical self-expression? Was that evident around you?
Radical self-expression was very evident because self-expression in the default world is very restricted to standards, primarily visual standards. At Burning Man, the visual standards are removed, so everyone can choose to express themselves primarily visually any way they want. If it were to be radical self-expression, I'd like to see more radical self-expression in all other areas of human expression. Community is a form of expression. Community essentially forces you to express yourself according to the rules of the community. And because the communities at Burning Man in the end are very human and designed by humans for humans, most communities at Burning Man are very unexpressive. They're very human. So I'd like to see a lot more radical expression, self-expression in communities.
Did you see a lot of communal effort, creative cooperation and collaboration between people, social networks, public spaces, works of art?
Yes, people really do collaborate at Burning Man. Burning Man is divided into two groups. There's a group that runs the show, there's a group that produces the show, and then there's a group that consumes the show. And as Burning Man becomes more mature, I can imagine that in the past it was a lot more, there was a lot more people that both produced and consumed. As Burning Man reaches maturity, the division between the producers and consumers is becoming more clear because the people that produce the show have completely different budgets and capabilities than the people that consume it, that go there just to consume it. So the communal effort was tribes within Burning Man. I haven't really seen much collaboration and cooperation between tribes. Tribes, from my point of view, tribes at Burning Man compete with each other.
Well, they compete for attention, they compete for people, they
Right.
compete for resources.
So in that sense, in terms of communities or tribes cooperating with each other, I think Burning Man is an expression of the survival instinct of people, not the communal instinct of people. People form communities at Burning Man to thrive within their own community.
Well, how about the communal effort, for instance, to create the Embrace art?
That was a community effort within the community of the creators of Burning Man.
It was funded by Kickstarter. A lot of people, thousands of people helped fund it. And apparently there were at least 40 volunteers that worked on it consistently, in addition to additional support they got on occasion.
I mean, that's a big community, but it's still a tribe of people. I'm sure they cared a lot about Embrace. I'm sure they didn't care as much about other art as they did about this one, because they collaborated to create this one, and they wanted this one to be the best there is, and it was really good. The Embrace was a really good piece of art at Burning Man. I still think that the people that created it competed with everybody else to create it, which is a good thing. Communal collaboration is important. Burning Man shows that people need to have a sense of competition to thrive, because they naturally congregate into tribes that want to thrive in competition. Whether it's a piece of art or the best music venue at Burning Man, it is a competition. You can't really deny that. It's a friendly competition. I could argue with that.
It says here, participation. Our community is committed to a radically participatory ethic. We believe that transformative change, whether in the individual or in society, can occur only through the medium of deeply personal participation. We achieve being through doing. Everyone is invited to work. Everyone is invited to play. We make the world real through actions that open the heart.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Most people go to Burning Man to consume. They spend a budget. It's like a vacation for most people. Actually, most people treat it as a party. They say, this is the best party in the world. It happens every year. Why would I ever say no to that? So, and I've heard that multiple times over. And yes, it is a party, but there's a lot more to it, like the rule says. Yeah, when you take the majority of people that go there, they go to consume. They just go to, from party to party. They look for a party. They look to enjoy. And participation, to a certain point, is enjoyment, but it also is an effort. And a lot of people primarily put in the effort to enjoy.
Of all the parties there, how did you hear about them? How to decide which one you would go to?
The parties at Burning Man are ranked. There's a couple of tiers. It's not a total ordering, but there's a couple of tiers of parties. There are better parties and worse parties. And depending on who you are and who you know, you can get into a better party or a worse party. In that sense, human nature is exactly as it is anywhere else. There's no difference.
Discuss some of the people whom you met who were influential in you deciding to go to certain parties. Was it music? Was it atmosphere? Was it camp? Was it an art car?
So the primary way you rank parties at Burning Man is according to who goes there. And depending on what type of friends you have, that's the type of experience that you're going to have at Burning Man. Depending on what type of friends you hang out with, that's where you're going to go, and that's what type of a time you're going to have. So it's very dependent on the community in which it's very dependent on your community.
What do you think of radical inclusion,
What does that mean?
where everyone is welcome?
That's not my experience. I didn't experience I was being welcome everywhere. There were places that you can't go, and places you're not welcome. But I was neither surprised by that, nor did I expect any different. Because people congregate in communities and they don't really welcome everybody by default. It's really hard to achieve. What I did experience, what you might call, what was it called? Radical inclusion? It was radical welcomeness, a little bit more than include, which is somewhere on the road to radical inclusion. So I guess that's where the spirit is.
And what did you experience that was radical welcomeness?
It's primarily a feeling. Radical welcomeness is a feeling that if you walk up to somebody that wants to share the experience with you, you will share that experience together. I felt excluded at times at Burning Man. Very excluded. But I also felt, all the times that I felt excluded, I felt very welcome. I guess that's the definition of radical welcomeness. Unless you're not, if you're not included with some, you're welcome with everybody else.
So there's a place for you, another tribe that would welcome you, if another wouldn't.
And it's easy to find. So radical welcomeness is the state where it's easy to be welcome. Whereas in the default world, it's very easy to be excluded.
How about the culture of gifting? How has the gifts that have been offered to you, how have they changed you or made you feel?
The gifts? The biggest gift I received at Burning Man was the gift of insight. I received insight into my life, into the life of others, and insight into the lives of people as a species.
How did that happen?
The gifts of insight were the most unexpected gifts and came from the most unexpected directions ever. Insight always comes from perspective, and it's very easy to lose perspective in the default world, but it's really easy to gain perspective at Burning Man.
Here you kind of need it.
Oh shit, dude, I give up. No, just take them.
Much better at it.
I bet hers is bigger.
I think it's yours.
Does it
Try
make
it.
noises?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it?
That's awesome.
All right. Welcome home.
What's your name? Jerry. Jerry, Gingersaurus. Nice to
Welcome
meet you.
home. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you spun those before?
No.
You should try it.
All right, well, later. Now?
Yeah. Well, I'm not giving those to you, sorry.
That's, I just put them away somewhere safe. But you can have the lightsabers.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I gave her. I gave,
Yeah.
I gave her mine.
Yeah.
And your name is Jerry and your name was?
Cecilia.
Cecilia? Gingersaurus. Yes. Where are you from?
Welcome home.
Oh, yeah? Long way to go, huh? San Diego.
But that was made for you. You know how to use that.
You're trying to turn it off?
No, no, it's just,
The button's kind of whacked, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it barely moves.
whoa,
this
that's
thing.
really cool. Nice. That's awesome, man.
But then it's kind of buggy. The button's kind of buggy.
Okay.
Other than that, AAA batteries.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Cabin!
Have a good bird.
Is it because there's limited stimuli or penetration of information from the default world? How is it so concentrated that you can get insight so quickly or in a smaller community at Burning Man?
Well, insight comes from a lot more angles than in the default world because a lot more of those angles are exposed. In the default world, you usually only have one angle, which is the angle of your life. And at Burning Man, you can have whatever angle you want. You can have the angle of any of people that surround you just by talking to them, because a lot more people are open to talking at Burning Man than in the default world. So if you feel somebody welcomes you on the fly, you can walk up to them and start talking to them, and you will gain insight right there and then, because every perspective is an insight. So some perspectives at Burning Man, to me personally, were more interesting than others. So some perspectives at Burning Man, to me personally, were more interesting than others. But every one of them was worth being gifted and being received.
did anything surprise you at all? Like, of all the art cars, what did it communicate to you about the human spirit or the abilities of humans to make things?
I was surprised that there is so much creativity in people. Everybody wanted to express themselves, and everybody has pulled out as much creativity out of themselves, out of the deepest places in their soul, as much as they could. So the art had an abundance of creativity. You could look at art. You could go to Burning Man and look at art for the entire duration of the event, and just keep on looking more. There was so much creativity there. You could just walk the streets of Black Rock City and look at creativity, which is absolutely amazing because in the default world, creativity is confined by standards, visual standards, cultural standards,
Professions.
and professions, and community standards.
In default world, by your profession, you're labeled as creative or non-creative.
You know, being creative is a state of mind, which Burning Man evokes in people readily. It provokes creativity in people because it frees up so much of their headspace. People just have to be creative there, otherwise it's very, very dull. It's a choice. Everybody that comes to Burning Man is given a choice. Every moment they are at Burning Man, they're given a choice. And since most people are very creative, most people choose to create at Burning Man. And because there are no guidelines, because there are no standards, they create whatever comes to their mind. You can see how unrestricted creation is at Burning Man.
How has Burning Man ignited your own creativity?
Burning Man ignited my creativity just because I felt like I can do whatever I want. I just started doing. I just started expressing myself. I didn't really think about whether it looks good or how it feels. I just did it. I was just creative in my expression, and I didn't really care. People search for identity so that they can brand themselves. And identity is very important. It is fundamental to a community, because without an identity, you can't really be part of a community. The reason why you want to extend your identity into everything you bring to Burning Man is so that first of all, you can make sure that you know what's yours. Because if there's two bikes that are the same at Burning Man, there's a pretty good chance that you might take the wrong bike by accident, not even knowingly. So you want to make sure that you express your creativity onto as many things as you bring to the playa to ease your way of surviving in it.
What made the home that you built there so special?
It was mine. Well, it was. Every person that goes to Burning Man builds the home they wants to build. And the home that I built myself, just liked it a lot. You know, I built myself their home, and I liked it. Maybe because I knew what it was supposed to look like. So I just went there and built the one, since there's no home there to begin with. So I went to Burning Man and built the one that I wanted to live in. Out of all the pieces of my life, I took all the pieces that I had in my life. All me. I took me and applied me to Burning Man. I applied me to building myself a home there. Without context. Everybody comes there with context. I came with context too. But most people come with way more context than I do. I went to Burning Man knowing one person. One person. That was all the context that I brought in from the outside world. You have as many degrees of freedom as you have axes around which you can pivot around. So if you want to look at, how I could move around my space, like I had only one data point at Burning Man. I had only one point and my entire Burning Man revolved around. I could pivot in any direction I wanted. I enjoyed that. Pivot.
So you talked about Burning Man being a big party. What did you enjoy the most there? The art, the music, the dancing, the people, the community?
At Burning Man, I enjoyed most Choice.
Oh shit, get it out.
Come on. It's not the first time. Everybody's freaking out. I mean, they dance with fire. Holy shit. Wow.
I could make any choice I wanted. Bar one, I can skip the fence. Other than skipping the fence, I could do anything I wanted. Other than skipping the fence, given the context that I had at Burning Man, I could do anything I wanted. So I really enjoyed having that choice, because that is one of the most important things about Burning Man, is the choice you're given there.
Thank you.
I definitely understood the value of helping people. I never understood the value of helping people before going to Burning Man. I've helped a lot of people over the years, but if you help somebody at Burning Man, you can feel it. You can actually feel what it is to help somebody else, because it has no value. That is the value of helping people that I felt, that I experienced at Burning Man. I left Burning Man understanding what it feels like to help people, because I could get nothing out of it other than helping. It was not an exchange.
So how did you help people? Did you help them feel better? Did you feed them? Did you clothe them? What are the ways that you help people?
The way I really tried to help people, now that I look back at it, is I tried to give them hope. Whatever I did at Burning Man, and I did I did stuff at Burning Man I'd never expect myself to do, ever. I would never expect myself to wash somebody's feet. It's like, that's it. That's the end of that statement. I honestly never imagined I would wash another dude's feet.
What made you wash his feet?
It is so ridiculous. Nah, seriously, I can't. I can't believe I washed somebody's feet. Like a complete stranger.
Well, everybody's feet are dirty, so what made you wash his feet?
There's this guy dancing on a flatbed, and I don't know what he was thinking, but the flatbed was made out of wood, really old wood that had plenty of splinters in it, and he essentially opened up a wound about 1.5 inches long across the bottom of his foot with one of those enormous splinters. And I saw that at the height of my willingness to help people. I said, okay, I'm going to fix it. Because he was trying to dance. The guy was trying to dance with that open wound on the flatbed. I was like, he's probably, like I see it. I see a person, barefoot person, with an open wound on a flatbed. And, if you look at the world, just fixing open wounds or wounds of any kind in feet in the population of this world would improve all kinds of health metrics everywhere. Well, other than the civilized world, which is essentially everywhere, if you look at the map. Most of it. It's not like New York City or LA or Paris or Berlin. That's where the pinnacles of our civilization are. Those are the modern Romes, where civilization is, like civilization of our time. So if you drive an hour outside of each of those cities, you're essentially outside of civilization. Right? So if you look at the amount of land that is uncivilized, it's quite a bit of land. And all those people need shoes on their feet. So I looked at the guy, and with that consciousness in mind, I decided, I gotta help the guy. I have to help the guy. Because you're gonna be in trouble. He's gonna have an infection. There was no way that's gonna end well. So I walked up to him and I fixed it. I bandaged it. I washed his foot.
It seems that everyone we met at Burning Man had some sort of emotional baggage that they were carrying with them to some degree, that we're either looking to shed or share, at least in terms of the more deeper conversations. Do you think people were more open about themselves, about sharing their own frailties, doubts, weaknesses?
Definitely. People were very open to share themselves as people, primarily because if you knew someone, they were most likely a friend, and if you didn't know someone, they were a stranger, a true stranger. And it's much easier to share your most inner thoughts to a stranger or to a friend than it is to a person that you have a functional relationship with, in which there's expectations on both sides of the relationship, and they need to be met. Your deepest thoughts and your deepest feelings occur at functional relationships. That's why Burning Man is so unique, because most people there are not in a functional relationship. They don't expect anything of each other. They're not employee and employer. They're not blood relatives. They're just a community of like-minded people.
Did you enjoy watching things burn down? How important was that concept of burning things down at Burning Man?
The only burn that meant was the temple burn. Because everybody that came to the temple came there to make peace. So when the temple burned, people made a lot of peace, and you could feel it. When the temple burned, you could actually go there and feel peace being made. By people with themselves.
How about the embrace? When you describe where you were when you saw the embrace being lit.
I was at a party at after sunrise. filming it, working, and while I was documenting the party, people started running, and just turned around and saw the Embrace beginning to burn.
What the fuck?
I started walking towards the burn, and I could not believe my eyes. It was such an amazing view. The smoke from the two burning figures turned into a heart in the morning sky. Burns give peace in and of himself. Maybe it's their prehistoric nature that does that. People always burned. Fire is very important. So, burning is a very important part of civilization. It's a ritual, yeah. Burning is a ritual. So people congregate around fire. And fire evokes soul searching. When the Embrace burned, soul searching was focused on relationships.
Yeah. Video.
Well, it's like a heart.
Video.
Huh?
Like that was the most beautiful thing.
It's on video.
Yeah, we have it on
That
video.
place, like the two souls just parting ways.
Yeah.
In the heavens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody felt different. You could see it in the crowd that every person there had their own separate agenda about their relationships and what they're processing about them.
How about before it burned, when you first encountered the Embrace? How did you approach it? Did you go inside to explore?
The Embrace was amazing. It showed how alone, showed how unique our relationships are. Because there was only 2 of them there. It was not 3 or 4 or 5. Every relationship that you have is with another person. You can't really have a relationship with a company or a community or an organization. You always have relationships with people. And what the Embrace tried to tell people is that you should embrace your relationships. You should embrace your people. Because there is a unique relationship between you and every person that you know. And you should embrace it.
There's a poem printed in the Burning map called The Guest House. It says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows. Violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. By Rumi. What compelled you to hug so many people?
Did I really hug a lot of people? More than average? I don't think so.
Or an average in a default world. How many people a day do you hug in New York City?
None.
How many people did you hug on average every day at Burning Man?
50.
That's a lot.
That was a lot. They expected it. They wanted. Hugs are special. Hugs break many boundaries that we've learned to surround ourselves with, to protect ourselves from other people, from hurt. So at Burning Man, hugging people in a way gives you strength and a sense of belonging, because it's the only symbol that transcends everybody at Burning Man. It's a universal gesture of goodwill.
With your hugs, you also greeted everyone by saying, "Welcome home." Did you truly believe that you were home?
Yes, because I built a home for myself there. I started out by building a home for myself at Burning Man. So once I had a home there, why would I not welcome everybody else that was there with those words? You're definitely welcome at my home.
Have you expanded that definition of home beyond Black Rock City? And will you continue to welcome those people whom you met into your home?
I don't know. The oddity of Burning Man is that most people there build a home and somehow manage to leave it behind when they come back. there's a sense of community. There's a community around Burning Man. But the home that I built there will stay there. I have a lot of expectations towards my home. So even though everyone that I met at Burning Man was welcome at my home in Burning Man, I hope that they would treat me with the same welcomeness wherever they are right now. I've gained that hope, which I didn't have before. I became hopeful that people will greet me with welcomeness wherever I go.